Hey Springfield, my name is Aaron Clark, and what you're about to watch are stories designed to create compassion, care, and love for one another in our community. We all have a story, we all have history, we all have an authentic story, and with that comes good, bad, and the ugly. But when we know each other's stories, when we hear each other's stories, it gives us the capacity to show more compassion and love for one another. So let's check out a video of an authentic story from one of your neighbors. What's up, everybody? This is Aaron Clark, and welcome to our Springfield Stories. We have another great episode just with an amazing individual here in Springfield, and he's going to share his story and his life and share his heart. So we welcome my brother here, man. Just share your name and what you do, and we'll get started.
Thanks for having me. My name's Joe Hunter, born and raised Springfield. Been here almost 43 years. I currently work at the Clark County Juvenile Detention Center. I've been in my role as director the last 13 years. We've come a long way from where I started to where we're at, and that's kind of what I'm most happy to share and share with what we do there.
Wow. So let's dive in, man. What you say you've been for 43 years?
Yep. I lived here my whole life.
Your whole life, man. So I'm sure there's a lot of stories that you have in this 43-year experience. So what was it like? What was your childhood, man? Walk us through that journey, your childhood, being born and raised here in Springfield, and highs and lows, and
sure,
family dynamic and all that stuff.
Well, some of my earliest memories, we grew up, my family didn't have a lot of money. We grew up on Farlow Street, right across the street from Children's Services. I remember distinctly the reason why my parents wanted us to get out of that neighborhood, because some of the stuff that I was exposed to. We moved to Northridge when I was about 4 years old, and I think my mom and dad were kind of living outside their means just to give us a safer environment to grow up in. And so during school, I had good friends and played sports, but I'll always remember in fourth grade, so this was normal to me, but it wasn't normal to everyone else at the time, but I didn't know any different. But I remember the week before school starts, my mom would take us school clothes shopping, and we'd go to garage sales and things like that. And by the time I got to fourth grade, I started realizing, like, oh man, Nike's cool, and all the other name brand stuff that I'd always want. And I just remember we finally found a pair of Nikes at one of the garage sales, and went to school the first day of school, and everybody's got their cool new clothes on and new kicks, and everyone's showing their new version of their shoes. I'm like, oh yeah, check these new shoes out. And I was so happy and proud to have a pair of Nikes. And one of the kids said, those aren't new. And I said, yeah, I just got them. They're brand new. And he's like, no, those are my shoes. So then I was like, uh-oh, this lie's not going to work. And I said, no, I just got them. And he said, lift your heel up. And I didn't even notice, but I lifted my heel up, and there was his initials on the bottom of his shoe. That wow. I realized, like, oh, I've been had. But yeah, because I didn't have all the name brand stuff, I wanted to fit in with all the cool kids and everything. And I remember everybody that played football at that time, they all wore the jerseys of school on the days after the game, and they just seemed so cool, so happy, and so together that I wanted part of that. So that's how I joined the football team. I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know how to play, but I fell in love with the team and the brotherhood and the coaches, and I got to one day a week get to wear a jersey and got to be like everyone else. And then from there, I just fell in love with it and kept with it.
Wow, man. How did that, how long did that, I'm sure when you found out that the initials on the bottom of the shoe, man, like, what was the next day like for you at school?
Luckily, you're young and you move on to stuff real quick, but Uh, that story's always been in my head. Like that was what mattered to me then, and really it doesn't never mattered after all. What it did matter was learning to be on a team, learning to play with other guys, and being a part of something bigger.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. How of course you're young, so I get it, but looking once you mature and you grow up, man, you realize like, man, I really spent a lot of my time focusing on things that really doesn't even matter,
Yeah.
especially as you get older and you get high school and college, stuff like that. And you start to realize, man, like, man, that stuff it doesn't matter, man. You really kind of waste your time thinking about it, man. But what is your family dynamic? Like, you have any siblings, your brothers, sisters, or what's your...
Yep. My mom and dad are still together. They're in their 60s. I've got 2 younger sisters, one that's 10 years younger than me and one that's 2 years younger than me. And we're a pretty tight family, so we get together for the holidays. We all still live in Springfield. None of us really moved away, so we're all still here.
What made you want to stay in Springfield? Because a lot of times when people grow up, their initial thought is, I'm getting out of Springfield. I'm moving away to either a bigger city or something that has maybe more opportunities. But what made you stay and your family stay in Springfield?
Yeah. Well, for me, I started my college career at Wittenberg University, and it was close. And at the time, I thought this is going to be great for me, and it was definitely another culture shock. Again, I'm going to school when, no offense to the students there, but everybody was rich. I was not. Everybody got brand new cars for graduating. I had a $500 CRX that I was driving, so I guess I didn't feel comfortable in my own shoes then, just yet, but ended up transferring to Urbana University and play with a bunch of amazing guys, and they were all, they seemed more like me. They worked a lot harder to get the things than others, so I fit in real well there.
How did you, you said that you come from poverty and things like that. How do you think that shaped your mentality growing up? Because there's a lot of people who grow up, in poverty, and they just have the mentality, this is it just is what it is. This is the way it's gonna be, and but what was your mindset? Did you have that mindset like, this is not the way my life is gonna be, or where you could just kind of like, hey, I'm just here, or what was your mindset like?
When you're young and immature, you definitely want to strive for all those things that you don't have. So when I was 14, my freshman year, I got a job at Duro Inn. For those of you who remember the restaurant, I worked there till I was 26 years old. All through high school, all through college, helped pay for school, and the money was great. So when I was 14 and 15, I wasn't garage selling. I was buying my own clothes and getting the stuff that I wanted to get myself. And then Duro Inn taught me how to really multitask, being young and that kind of restaurant life, juggling that in school and sports. It just it all clicked together.
Do you think, man, that do you feel like you've ever been, and I hope this is a good question. If it's not a good question, then we're just gonna act like it's a good question. But do you feel like you ever been stereotyped, man, as having it all together? Because you just said, like, you come from a poverty background, and through high school you had to work, and that's how you paid for college and paid for your things, and so nothing was handed down to you. You had to work for it. But sometimes, I know people think, whether, and it's not a color thing, but people often might assume that, oh man, you look like you had it all together, or things was handed down to you. Man, have you ever got that from people thinking that?
I get that a lot, even in sports, and I like exercising. It makes me feel good. Sports was great. I had some success with that, but I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the fastest. I worked the hardest, and that paved the way for my football career in high school, paved the way for my football career in college, and then my love for the sport, the game, and my career now.
Wow. So let's bring on up to, you know, high school. You say you play football. College, you play football as well. So let's start with high school, man. What was your challenges, you know, being a high school student? What was your ups? What was your downs, you know, being in high school, whether it's with sports or just in general, academics or just general?
Yeah, well, for me, I think it's just kind of finding your place in the world. You don't know where you fit in. That's what high school to me felt like was. It's all about fitting in. Which group are you going to be with? Luckily, I fell in love with the culture of football, so those were most of my best friends, and yeah, from there we just hung together and grew together. So
yeah. When you got to college, man, you know, of course, college is a whole different world. You know, what was the struggles or challenges in college?
Well, in high school, I all conference and all state, and when I got to college, I just expected to be the best again. And I get there, and everybody's all state, all conference from wherever they're at. So that was a culture shock and very humbling. But it also taught me that nothing's given to you. You got to work hard for what you want. And I could have just, you know, been happy enough to be on the team, but it's not me. I want to see how far I can go and take it. Yeah. So that's where I went.
Was sports a big thing in your family? Like, did your father or anybody else play sports?
Yeah, my dad was my coaches in all the sports I played growing up. I got to play on the All-Star Babe Ruth team, 13, 14, and 15-year-old year. When we were 15, we were state champs for the Babe Ruth League, and that was very memorable for me, and the camaraderie we had with each other. And we were just, it wasn't a traveling ball team. We all lived in Northridge. We all rode our bikes to the field. We'd get up every day in the summer and know, hey, I'm going to the ball diamond. We're going to hit some balls, or we're going to go to the church and play some football. There was always something to do. So that's what I loved about Northridge. I think that's why I stay here.
So bring us up to adult life, man. So now you graduate college, you're done with high school, now you're an adult. Yeah. So what was life experiences, you know, navigating through adult life? Are you married with kids, and just kind of navigate? Tell us about those experiences.
Well, sure. I'm married. I'm married to Nikki Hunter, was Nikki Denon. We have one daughter. She's 17. She goes to Kitten Ridge. She's going to be graduating next year. They're building new schools, so what's cool is she and her mom and I, we all graduated from the same building, which is kind of neat. And it's been fun to watch Lex, and hard to watch Lex go through the same challenges that we all had to, figuring out who your true friends are, where you fit, what matters and what doesn't matter, and heartache and heartbreak. So
yeah. So how long have you been married?
We've been married since 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. What did you say y'all went to Kitten Ridge, or did y'all graduate together? She's
a couple years younger than me, but we were all friends growing up. I hung around with her friends, and she hung around with my friends, and just always been in the picture, been a great friend of mine, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah. As a father, man, what would you say your greatest challenge is being a father to
Well, I always imagined I'd have a son, so that I could mold him and, you know, make him into a little mini-me. And I thank God that I didn't, because I think having a daughter has allowed me to be more emotional, more in touch with my feelings with the child. It wasn't easy. Even marriage isn't easy. It takes a lot of work, and in the beginning there, I didn't think we were going to make it, but I was bound and determined that I didn't want anyone else to be in my daughter's life, to be another daddy in the household. I want to be the guy that teaches her what guy to find, and I'm proud that I stuck with it and made it this far, and She's a success herself so far.
Yeah, man, that's amazing, man. You just said, you know, I didn't want somebody else to raise or be in the house, so I wanted to do it because, you know, I have two girls, and although they're younger, one is like a week old, and then one is 2. I couldn't picture somebody else raising my daughters, man. You know, that's like one of those things that I don't know. I just can't picture that. You know, you want to be there to raise them and make sure that they have everything they need. You know, so that determination led to your staying together in your marriage and things like that. You know, you still want a boy?
I think I moved past that point now, but I got a lot of boys that are my boys that I've been working with for the last 20 years. So I feel like I'm a dad everywhere I go, so that's great. And being a dad, you go to hell and back for your kids, and that's what I've been through.
Yeah. So what do you do now, man? You're in Springfield, you're married, your daughter. So what is your passion, your heart? Where so you work for the Juvenile. You know, what led you to that place?
Well, again, it all goes back to being a little kid and being on the football team, that feeling I got from that. I had a real great coach in high school. His name's Bruce Shibler. I don't think he knows just how much he meant to all of us kids. You know, he was the stereotypical 80s, 90s coach with the mustache and, you know, the tight softball shorts and high socks and all that kind of stuff. But we'd go to games as little kids and just worship these guys. That they seemed like many gods to us. And then to be actually on the field with that coach, the guy that we grew up watching, coaching us, it's kind of surreal in the beginning. But the thing I loved about him was he always coached more about life than the sport. It was about being hungry. It was about working hard. Nothing's given to you, and it's about you need each other. Being a small part of a bigger unit, and I loved that because that made me connected to something. And so when I went to college, my goal was to be a coach, a football coach, and a teacher. Graduated from Urbana University. I taught for Urbana City Schools for 5 years, and I coached along with Coach Shibler a couple years at Kenton Ridge, and I worked at Durwood Inn during the summer since I was off for the summer months being a teacher. And when I was 26, Durwood Inn closed its doors, and I still wanted the extra money. So my mom told me there's a teaching position down at the Juvenile Detention Center. So I thought, okay, yeah, I can do this. I'm thinking I'm a good enough teacher by now. I know how to handle the bad kids, and I'm going to go in there and show these guys just who's the boss and all that kind of stuff. And so I get there, and my first couple months, it was kind of, for me, I didn't know if I was going to last. It's kind of a scary place. It's kind of dungeon-y like. A lot of hurt kids, a lot of fights, a lot of commotion, hurt staff, hurt kids. It was just scary. But through those 3 months, I realized that I'm not as good a teacher as I thought it was. The kids that needed me the most were the ones that I was kicking out of class. The kids that needed me the most were the kids that I'm with right now. And so it kind of humbled me to realize that, and that summer job never stopped. I've been there now almost 20 years. So I taught there for 3 years. I learned how to become a teacher. I still coached. These kids don't, a lot of the kids, I can't say all of them, but many of them don't have father figures in their lives. They don't have mentors in their lives. And I could see the hunger that they had, the same type of hunger that I had when I was getting from football and coaches. So that kind of drove me, and I liked feeding off of their success. From there, after 3 years of that summer job, I became the assistant director, and I had no idea how to run a detention center. I'm a teacher. Well, I thought, well, I got plenty of time to learn how to do this job. My director, Fred Thomas, great guy. He was with me on the job for the first 4 months, and he ended up getting throat cancer, and he was gone. So there was me, a 29-year-old kid, trying to learn how to run a detention center, policies and procedures and things I had no idea about. So that first year was a huge struggle for me. Had a lot of staff at the time, some of them twice my age, upset that who is this guy? He's not even been here, more than 3 years, and he's telling me what to do. He doesn't know anything about the detention center, and he's telling me how to do detention work. So that was a struggle. I pretended like I knew what I was doing. I faked it till I made it. And that first year, unfortunately, quite a few people either quit on me or I had to let go because I did not like the culture of the detention center. I don't believe in the force, the lack of care, the lack of concern, the lack of love. If my kid was in that detention center, I'd go nuts. But if I run this detention center the way, if my daughter was there, in my heart, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And we were kind of stagnant with, it's very, it can be a boring job. We didn't have a lot of programming. There is school, but kids go to school for a couple hours and then that's it. They're back in the room and they're locked down. They do get like an hour rec at nighttime, and that's really them talking about what they're doing on the streets and the drugs and the girls and the guns and all the stuff they shouldn't be talking about anyway. Being a teacher, I kind of wanted to do some things differently, and we were able to add some cool programming. Project Jericho has been a big help with us, and they started as one kid a week, 1 hour a week, writing a poem, and that's grown into, a full band and things like that. But having said, losing all those people sucked, but it did help me find the people that I do need to do this job, because I'm only a small part of this big machine. So I was able to bring in a lot of good people, some that I knew, some I didn't know. Jeff Haas, John Bass, Candace Leap, just to name a few. I knew them growing up. I knew they got the philosophy, so they were a big help at kind of tweaking what we're doing. And that first year, I was kind of getting bored with everything, and it was December, and the judge at the time, Judge Monin, usually lets a lot of kids out around Christmas time. But we had probably around 20 kids through the holidays, and I wanted to do something different. And since Duro Den was fresh in my mind, I thought, well, why don't we try to do this job simulation? Let's turn this place into a restaurant. Let's see if we can give these guys a chance to want to make honest money. So the first 2 weeks in January, all the kids were able to, they were all taught applications, interviewing skills, resumes, things of that nature. And then we reached out, got a couple managers from restaurants. Olive Garden's manager, I believe, was the first time we did that, and every kid, we got them all a shirt and tie. They had to wait their turn and interview with the manager based on what they were taught. And then from there, they were placed into one of 4 categories. They were a cook, a cashier, /server, busser, hostess. And then those teachers took on the role as the supervisors the rest of the month. So every day the kids wake up, instead of going to school, they had to clock their punch card in and out. Kids learn how to do the cash registers. Some kids learn how to cook. Some kids learn how to answer the phone, clean, all that kind of stuff. And we sent invitations out to the public, and we opened it up for the last Friday of that month. And we had about 2 seatings of 80 people. It came with play money in the invitations, and awesome. And I think this is where it started clicking with me. The story is, I'll never forget it. So there's a kid, his name's Brian. I've never seen him again. He was very quiet, introverted, and sad. And I could sense that about him. I just really wanted to make him feel better. I wanted to do something for him. So I got him to get to talk to me, and I finally get to know him a little bit. And I said, "Hey, Brian, you seem like a good kid. What are you doing here?" And he says, "I miss too much school." And I said, "Well, what's going on at school?" He said, "I get bullied. I don't have any friends." And he was a big kid. He said he went as far as to tell me that he would eat his lunches in the bathroom because he was too embarrassed to sit in the cafeteria without getting made fun of. So I really wanted to push this kid during this process, and the people came and went. The kids did great. They took the orders, served. It was awesome. We got standing ovations, and these are kids that have never been applauded for anything. But I told them that first, before that day it started, I just said, "These guys know you as thieves. These guys know you as drug dealers, whatever it is. This is the time that you're going to show them who you really are, who you can be." And part of the carrot I dangled in front of them was, well, you know, once you do this, once you prove to people what else you can be, I'm going to let you eat all the hamburgers, hot dogs, and milkshakes that you want. So that, and then kids in detention, they're always hungry, so that was a deal. I remember this plain as day. All the kids were flying high, just happy as can be. I'm letting them go through the line and get their food, and Brian's the last kid to go through the line. And I jump behind him, and I look at him, and he's smiling. And that's the first time I saw him smile the whole time. He fixed his tray. All the kids we rented all this restaurant furniture, so all the kids are sitting wherever they want in our gym. And Brian took his tray, turned around and looked, and the look on his face, his smile just dropped. Went pale, just looked like, uh-oh. And I think he was reliving the trauma he was going through in high school. And the second I noticed that, my mouth was opening to say, "Hey, Brian, I want to sit with you." Before a thing came out of my mouth, a back corner table, there was 6 boys. They were cooks, and Brian was a cook. One of them said, "Hey, Brian, we're all over here." He pulled a chair out for him. And then the look on his face at that moment was like, I'm accepted into something. So my faking it to make it went from that to this is what I want this to be. I want kids to feel accepted. I want them to feel the things that they need to be successful.
Yeah, man, that's an amazing story, man. And just say you said the culture is changing. You know, what do you see? And we're gonna wrap it up here shortly. What do you see, man? Like working in juvenile, one of the biggest issues with our youth, because you know. You hear this, man, everybody, our youth need this, our youth is this. And one thing, I'm a firm believer, man, if you don't work with youth, it's really hard to say what youth, you know. It's just a different perspective working with youth and then you just from the outside looking in, you know. But you being hands-on with youth, what do you think, man, one of the top issues are, you know, with our youth?
Without a doubt, the top issue right now is the gun violence. In the 20 years that I've been there, and these are kids that you get to know on such a personal level that you can't help to fall in love with them. They love you. It's a mutual family once they trust you. But for me, the hardest part was once they're released, and even after 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is that they're convinced, I can do this. I can be better. I can earn true money. I can be a success. But then you don't know where they're at when they leave. Most of the time they go right back out into the home environment they came from. Through my career, I've dealt with at least maybe around 40 kids that have been killed by gun violence. And we got videos and all the neat things that we did with these guys, and you watch and like, he didn't make it, he didn't make it, he didn't make it. So you're taking these successful videos and you're watching, you're like, I don't feel very successful anymore. So at some point in the last 10 years, I've been, putting crumbs for kids and dangling carrots for kids that are in detention, saying, "Man, I think I'd like you to work for me someday." And like, really? Like, yeah. When you're 21, why don't you give me a call? And just during the pandemic, we lost some people, and it's tough finding people. And out of the blue, one of the old kids we had called me and said, "Hey, I'm 21 now. Wow. Can I work for you?" I said, "Sure, come on in." And he wasn't the type of guy that would fit in. And this is where it all began. So I go downstairs. He's waiting to be interviewed by me, and he's young and scrawny and filthy. I remember his pants were just shredded, dirty under his fingernails, and there were some other people out there saying, you're not going to work here. You're too small. All this type of stuff. And I came down there and I thought, I don't think he's the right fit, but I'm at least going to give him an interview. And then I could see on his face the look of, they don't believe I can do this, almost like, I thought, come on, we're going to do this. I gave him an interview. It's horrible. I told him everything. I was like, this is what you need to work on. This is what you need to work on. You need to cut your hair. You need to look professional. You need to carry yourself this way. I was like, your nails, you got dirt on your nails. So he's like, I don't have running water. I don't have this. I don't have that. So I wanted him to prove everyone that was saying you can't do this wrong. So I gave him some of my old clothes and got him all spit shined, and had him come interview with the judge, and he got a job. And the way we offered the job was we have a inhabitants list. It shows where everybody's at, what kids and what cell. And before I offered them a job, I said, read this list. And he was reading it. And I said, look in Unit B. I said, why don't you read the names that are in there? And he's about the fourth one down. He said his name. I said, there you are. I said, now let's look at all the people on this list that didn't make it to the age of 21. 2 here, some here, some here. This is in prison. He's in jail. Dead, 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 dead. You made it this far. Don't stop. And he got the job, and now the other kids in detention are looking at like, he is serious. He can work here. And for me, I don't have to worry about when they're leaving the detention center, going back in the home environment. I get to work on them at becoming adults. Because a lot of them don't have the men in their life to teach them how to be an adult. So it's been a struggle. And right now I got a handful of kids that are grown men that were my kids, that are still my kids. But they all work at the detention center. And what better people to save broken kids and broken kids that learn to find their way. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. See, I love doing these stories because I didn't know that. Been born and raised here in Springfield my whole life, man, and thank God, I've been to the detention center to do other teachings and stuff, man, but was never in there. So, and that's just the grace of the Lord, man.
Yep.
But I never knew that, man. And it's inspiring to hear these stories and encouraging that young people can turn it around. Like you don't have to settle for this life.
Yep.
There is something great, and I applaud you for being a man of your word. Because one thing about young people, man, they're going to hold you to it, man. And he called you back when he was 21. I was like, yo, I'm 21.
Yep.
What's up with this job? And at that point, man, even though he wasn't ready, you still took the time to get him ready and work. You just didn't throw him away, as most people would. And now, you see where he's at now.
Man. A lot of these kids that are locked up right now are seeing, I know him. He's working here. So many of them now are like, can I work for you? I'm like, absolutely. Can I work for you? Yes. let's get you to Clark State. You make it to 21, you're going to come back and work for me. What's really great right now is this awesome philanthropist donated some equipment and recording stuff for the kids to make music. And we have an excellent teacher, Jeff Hawes. He's been there almost as long as I have. So some of these kids, they come in there and they hook all the equipment up, and they don't know each other. Different races, different backgrounds, all from Clark County. But they started realizing they can make these beats and music together with Jeff's help, and from there it just skyrocketed. One kid would write the lyrics, one kid starts a beat on this computer, they can send it to each other to a different computer, they add to the beats. We had someone on a guitar making guitar riffs, and they send it all to each other, and then when it's done or over with, you overlap all the information, and then they made awesome songs. So now the kids, the music is so good and so on point with what they're going through in their life. It's real, and we're not telling them what to write about. And those guys became friends, and then those guys talked about it and bragged about it so much that other kids were singing their rap songs, and then other kids wanted their turn. So instead of at rec, instead of talking about who shot who and who's selling this to me or whatever, they're writing their beats with whoever they're around and writing lyrics, and then they come in there, and the kids that started that, they teach them, and now there's one of those kids. He's off in prison. He's got about a year left to go, and when he gets out, he's going to be our music teacher. Wow. And another kid that got out that plays guitar, he's been volunteering. He comes in once a week and works with the kids in there right now to continue making their own music, and it frees them. And then we have talent shows and shows that are open for people to come and watch, and we've had awesome artists come and perform for the kids, and it's motivating to watch the kids motivate each other. Everybody knows what they're feeling when they're on the stage. It's scary, but they appreciate them stepping out and sharing themselves.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Joe, I appreciate your time and sharing your story, being a part of our Springfield Stories. I got one last question. What's the hidden talent you have, man? One hidden talent.
Well, this is a new hidden talent. It's new for me. I've grown up in church. I've always said I'm a Christian, but I don't think I ever truly believed in what that meant until kind of this whole COVID thing. So I started really kind of paying attention to what I'm hearing just by being myself, and I feel like God's lead me. Actually, I'm led in directions that I don't even know where I'm going. Things that are happening that seem like an accident quickly turn into a blessing, and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Yeah. So I started looking at that, at everything. I can't even watch TV without seeing, now that's what that meant. That's what's going on. So I've kind of been writing my things down, and I get really weird messages, and I'll share it with people, and people are like, I don't get that means. I don't either. I just wrote it down. I don't know what it means, and then a couple weeks later, like, that's what that meant, and it leads to blessings.
Wow. God be praised, man. I appreciate your time, man. Amazing story, man. Thank you for being a part of it.
Well, thank you.
All right.